The LA Clippers are currently 6th in the Western Conference with a record of 27 wins and 20 losses. Oh, and it's probably worth mentioning that their best player and one of the best players in the NBA is healthy again.
7 of 13 shooting. Leonard behind the back. Leonard to the rack, reverse layup, it's good! What a play by Kawhi Leonard!
I don't care how many setbacks happens, I don't care how many times Kawhi Leonard is called the worst superstar in sports history by people like Stephen A. Smith. If Kawhi Leonard is able to step foot on a basketball court, your team will always have a chance to win. And it's only been 9 games so far, but you are already seeing Kawhi getting back to looking like Kawhi. I mean, just watch here as Powell pushes the pace in transition, getting it to Kawhi, and look at the quickness of that double cross, getting to his spot in the mid-range. I've said this before, but Kawhi does not get nearly enough credit for his ball handling. It might look a bit stiffer than guys like Paul George, but he has it on an absolute string, and he does so with a 7-foot plus wingspan. And not only does he have the ball on a string, but when he gets to his spot, you can guarantee almost every time he's going to knock down the shot, which obviously matters more than anything else. Just look at him here in transition, go behind the back into a spin move, and just the little hesitation to freeze the second defender on the step back too. Are you telling me this is not one of the best ball handlers at his position in NBA history? Why do you think I and so many other people love watching him play? Because there is nothing he can't do on a basketball court. And I know the easy thing to do is just laugh at the idea of Kawhi staying healthy and just say he's washed and will never be healthy again, but none of us are physios or doctors. We don't know that. All we can go off is what we see on the court, and no matter how many times Kawhi has been injured, whenever he has been on the floor, he has always looked like an NBA level player. Well, scrap that, not just an NBA level player, pretty much whenever he's been healthy, he has looked like a superstar. Just look at the last 2 seasons, where he averaged just under 24 points, 4 assists, and over 6 boards on 52, 42, 88 splits, and the Clippers had a record of 77 and 43 in those games. Not to mention he played 68 games last year and made an impact on both ends of the floor. This idea that Kawhi played 10 games and then his body completely shut down in the playoffs is just false. He was healthy almost all of the season, and unfortunately, injury struck at the wrong time, which has been common. But if he can play 68 games in a season at an all-NBA level, why am I meant to believe he can't play 20 games of playoff basketball? And the more and more games we have seen from him this season, the better and better he continues to look. I mean, how easy does he make this play look? Where James Harden throws the go-ahead pass, he takes it with one hand and then casually goes between his legs before just that little in and out to create that extra separation and the teardrop over 2 of the best shot blockers in the league. And the real tragedy of the last few years is all of Kawhi's game is built to thrive in the playoffs. The mid-range, the strength, the defense, the low turnovers, the cold-blooded nature at which he operates. Unfortunately, however, we have been robbed of that. But I want everyone to remember, this is one of the greatest playoff performers, not just of this generation, of any generation in NBA history. And prior to last year, where obviously he was completely unhealthy yet still tried to compete, Kawhi has averaged 30 points, nearly 9 boards, and 4.5 assists on 50, 38, 88 splits in his last 50 playoff games, which also included 2023 against Phoenix, in which he was walking down Kevin Durant and Devin Booker prior to getting injured. Some people will hear all of this and not care, because Kawhi has clearly struggled to stay healthy. I'm not disputing that, but I would rather take a chance on someone who you can guarantee is great when he is healthy than someone who just isn't Kawhi Leonard, if It's that simple. But with all of this being said, it would be one thing if the Clippers were relying on Kawhi to save them. No, this is the team that has looked really good the entire season, ranking 6th in the West with Kawhi having only played 9 games. And sometimes when you add a player of Kawhi's caliber and legacy, it can take time for the team to adjust. But what's so great about him is how selfless he is. He hasn't come in and tried to hijack the offense, he's just come in and cooked opposition defenders when given the chance, and tried to find his footing on the defensive end of the floor. Because whilst Kawhi is the reason this team has a chance to win a championship, obviously he can't do it himself, and now more than ever, he needs a good supporting cast for the regular season. And this Clippers team has more than just 1 or 2 good players. This is a really good team across the board, led by their second-ranked defense, which speaks to a combination of factors: Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy's coaching, and the role players on this team. Because obviously you guys have seen what Norman Powell and James Harden have been doing this season, and if you haven't, those guys have been performing at a great level. In particular, Norman Powell, who has taken one of the most unexpected leaps we have ever seen in NBA history, playing like a legitimate all-star. But alongside those guys, you have Ivica Zubac, and then you have the defensive specialists, the likes of Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., Amir Coffey, and Terrence Mann, who just provide energy every single night. And what makes the Clippers so great is you have an array of guys who can hunt players around screens, who are ball hawks off the ball like Chris Dunn, and then also have length like Derek Jones Jr. This is a team built on defensive identity mixed in with 3 absolutely lethal scorers in James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and of course Norman Powell, who deserves a video in himself, which I will probably make at a later date. But one thing that has stood out about this Clippers defense is what Derek Jones Jr. said about his relationship with Ivica Zubac. It's simple for me and him. I try not to get hit on screens, but if I do, obviously I'll pursue the ball handler. If they got a pick and pop big, then I'll listen to the calls. Whenever Zoo calls something, I honor the call. I know this is basic, but having a good understanding and a vocal center changes everything. Why do you think those Warriors teams were so great with Draymond Green? Sure, he was crazy and an absolutely generational defender, but he was also incredibly vocal and was consistently calling out. And I think this Clippers team has the right blend of guys who will just get after it on defense every single night, but also understand when to pick their spots on that end. Now, if there is one potential room for improvement for this team, outside of the obvious, like the outside shooting with guys like Dunn, Mann, and Derek Jones Jr., it would be that backup center position. I just struggle to see a world in which Mo Bamba is a positive contributor for this team in the playoffs. He's had a few decent games recently, but I just don't like that idea, and I'm sure we'll see the Clippers go small as we have seen at times this season, but you just hope it doesn't become a problem against the likes of Jokic or Davis if Zoo were to get into foul trouble. Regardless, that is a pretty small issue in the grand scheme of things. If the Clippers can stay healthy, this is one of the best teams in the league. It's that simple.